Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I want to do a quick video just going over some of the team changes that we have seen in the past couple of weeks, or just kind of week, as we are moving closer to the play-in tournament. Teams are putting themselves in the position that they need to as they go forward for the rest of the season. Of course, the APAC region, the play-in spots are a lot more up for grabs there. The Valiant are still alive there. The Charge are fighting to lock in that spot, trying to beat out the likes of the Valiant. Of course, keep them down, but also potentially beat out the Hunters, beat out the Fusion. So there's a lot on the line for the APAC region right now as we go into the Countdown Cup qualifiers and the play-in tournament. And of course, the APAC region's play-in tournament is going to be happening a week earlier than the one in the West, because the grand finals are seemingly going to be happening in person as a traveling event, something that my understanding is that it is going to be in California. We don't know where in California yet, but presumably in Los Angeles based on a couple of things we've seen and whatnot. But that is not the point of this video. We're going to jump in. We're going to talk about the changes to a number of the rosters in the league. Most of them are in the APAC region, which is why I bring up the APAC region, but there was one change in the Western region, which was Ants getting released by the LA Gladiators. It was a mutual move. Ants asked to be released. Obviously, this move comes off the heels of the acquisition of Happy. From what I remember seeing, there were some reports that Ants was given the option prior to the trade deadline to be released from the team if he so chose. He chose not to, and then when Happy joined, clearly he changed his mind and now cannot play for another team this season, which is unfortunate, but he had a pretty good season so far. His run definitely improved as time went on, so hate to see him go, but the Gladiators with Happy don't have the same need for Ants at this point in time, and so Ants, recognizing that, chose to be let go from the team. I don't think it's going to be too much of an impact, like I said. I think with Happy, this team will be fine. I think the Happy, Kevster, and Potifun trio is enough to get you what you need. I don't think the Gladiators are going to be any worse off because of this than they were before. I think they'll be just fine with this move happening. But let's move on to the Western region, where I think these moves are a lot more noticeable and relevant, and I think have more potential. I don't know. They have more implications, I think, because the teams are a lot more close together, and there's a lot more close competition for the play-in tournament. So the big one with the LA Valiant is that No Hill has departed this team as head coach. From what I remember seeing, this was a planned thing from the beginning. No Hill was returning to university to continue his studying, so he kind of was coaching over the summer, but when the team hit September, he was going to depart. Like I said, this was something that apparently was in the contract. They knew this was going to happen. This was already like a planned thing, so it doesn't necessarily tell you a lot about No Hill specifically. It's really just the type of thing of they knew this was coming. This was a planned departure, and no surprise to the team. I think this will be pretty detrimental to the Valiant. We all kind of talk about No Hill season and how good of a coach No Hill is. The Valiant have struggled so far, and I think without No Hill, they'll struggle even more. I wouldn't expect the Valiant to really make a serious push in this kind of final stretch of the season now that they do not have their head coach. I don't know exactly what their coaching situation is. I imagine their new head coach is Haru, who was an assistant coach with the team. I think that the team will perform about as well as they did before. I don't think it changes that much, really. I don't think the team were in a great position to begin with anyway, so to me, it's unlikely that something will change for this team with these moves. It's possible, I suppose, but that is where things stand for the Valley. But let's talk about two teams that have made moves that I think are way more interesting and have way more implications for the actual play-ins and playoffs. And we'll start with the big one, which is the Hangzhou Spark making two moves to their team. They added Teru, the former Vancouver Titans flex DPS player, as a support player, and Neko, the former Boston Uprising and Toronto Defiant flex support player, has transitioned from a coaching role with the Spark to a playing role as a support player. So they are now, once again, they are the big Hangzhou Spark with more players than any other team in the league. I think they are sitting at 10. I could be wrong. They have 4 supports, 4 DPS, and 2 tanks, which would be 10. So they have a lot of players, once again, something that people have criticized this team a lot for in the past. I don't really understand these moves. I don't know what the goal with them is. I don't know if they're just not happy with Irony and Super Rich. To me, Neko being a support seems strange, and Terry being a support seems strange. My theory that I'm going to kind of float out there is maybe visa stuff. Maybe they've struggled getting Irony and Super Rich visas for the playoffs, and so they don't, obviously they don't know for sure that they'll make the playoffs, but they're in a very good position to get into the playoffs. And if they make the playoffs and they can't fly their support line out, that could be detrimental. So I view it potentially as a kind of fail-safe thing of we need to make sure that just in case we have issues going into playoffs, we have backups in all of our roles, so that when we travel, we can kind of do our thing better and we can actually get a full roster when we go to the playoffs. Maybe that's the reason, maybe that's not. To me, this isn't a thing that makes this roster any better. Neko has been coaching the teams. He's been with the team at least, so he kind of knows the state of the team, but I struggle to see a world in which Neko is a better flex support than Irony. I just don't really see that happening. And then Teru, maybe he's been playing main support and I missed it in contenders, but he's always mainly been a flex DPS in the Overwatch League, at least he was. He has played flex support, and his Ana, his Zen in particular, are kind of well known. But that makes it even weirder to me that he is another flex support. Like, he's not even a main support player for the most part. He plays a lot of flex support. So why they now have 3 flex supports, I don't know. It's a weird move. It's the Hangzhou Spark doing what the Hangzhou Spark like to do. They're a bizarre team that makes weird decisions that I will never fully understand, but that's kind of their thing. That they seemingly enjoy having large rosters that don't make a lot of sense. I don't think it's going to put them in a better position for the playoffs. I think it doesn't really impact their position. I think it puts them in a worse position if they actually play them. Yeah, it's interesting to look at. The other team that made big moves, however, is the Guangzhou Charge. Obviously, they are coming off a very good run in the Summer Showdown, getting 4 wins in the qualifiers plus an extra tournament point by making the tournament. They made 2 additions to their team. One, to the coaching staff. They added Ty Dalla, formerly an assistant with the Washington Justice, and I believe even before that, he worked with the LA Gladiators. He even worked with the Guangzhou Charge back in 2018 and 2019, 2020, or 2019, 2020. He was with the Charge. Returning to the Charge now to help their coaching staff, and is a big addition. He is a very, very, very highly regarded coach in the scene. People very much like Ty Dalla. People who he has worked with speak very, very highly of him. So this is a pretty big coaching addition to a team that is going to have a shot at the play-in tournament and realistically have a shot at the play-in tournament. In the West, it doesn't really feel like there's a lot of, an outside shot for some of those teams kind of on the outside. But how small the APAC region is, how inconsistent Chengdu and Philadelphia and Hangzhou have been. Guangzhou's in the hunt, and I think that them adding Taidala is a way to kind of cement their roster, make it a roster that they feel comfortable with, that they think is kind of in a good place going forward, and that could be the thing they need to go the distance and get a win in that play-in tournament. And to even further go towards that goal, they added Piggy to their roster, of course, formerly of the Houston Outlaws. Piggy comes in as the second tank player for this team. They had Krong alone in the Summer Showdown. They, of course, had Rio for the first half of the season, but they released him. Now they had Piggy. I think Piggy, we've seen more main tank play out of him than we have Krong in recent memory. Obviously, Piggy played some of the main tank for the Houston Outlaws earlier this season when they were in the Doomfist meta. But now he joins the Guangzhou Charge. I don't know if he'll get a ton of playtime over Krong. I think Krong has been pretty good for this team. He was pretty good in the Summer Showdown. And I think I would be surprised if Piggy benched Krong, unless it is a meta decision. If it's something like they needed someone who could play main tank heroes and they felt like Piggy was their best option, then I think that's why they would have brought him in. I don't really know if he is going to immediately have an impact so large that he is a better player than Krong, who's been with the roster. But I do think it is interesting to see him specifically to this roster, because the Charge, I think, are definitely, with this move, showing that their goal is to make it to the play-in tournament. They want to get to the play-ins and the playoffs. And the only way they can do that, I think, is by bolstering their roster and continuing the kind of hot start that they found in the Summer Showdown, and let that run through the Countdown Cup and through the play-in tournament. Because this is a legit team with the team they have built right now. And because they find themselves in an APAC region that has teams that are not as strong and that have struggled throughout the season, like Philly and Chengdu, Hangzhou, Valiant. The Charge are in really good position, I think, right now. I put them at 5 in my power rankings. Easily, they could jump up to a 4 or a 3 spot if they continue playing the way they did. They could definitely make the playoffs. Just based on what we've seen out of them, they've looked really solid as a team. And so for me, I have been really happy with this Charge roster recently. And I think the addition of Piggy just kind of rounds them out and makes them a more complete, more fulfilled team that I think has a better shot. And it's a move that makes sense in some regard. It's a player that you know is really, really solid. And so you kind of have between him and Krong two very, very good players who could make the impact that you need depending on what the hero is that you need them playing. So I like this move from the Charge. I think it's a good one. Taidala and Piggy, I think both will bring a lot to this roster and will be big parts of their success or their shot at success in the Countdown Cup. That's it for these roster moves. Just wanted to give you guys a little update on where the rosters stand as we head into the Countdown Cup. I don't expect many more, if any more, roster moves going forward, so these are the big ones that you gotta pay attention to, and we will get into Overwatch League action this week on Thursday. So Wednesday, you'll have my picks, my predictions for the week, and then as we progress through the week and through the weeks, getting close to playoffs, we'll start doing all the awards and all that jazz. So get excited for that, get ready for that. I expect we'll get an announcement sometime soon about playoffs, MVP candidates, all that type of stuff. So be on the lookout for that as well. Depending on what it is, I might make a video on it, we'll see. But for now, that's all for today. Hope you all enjoyed. If you did, consider liking and subscribing for more content like this in the future. Let me know in the comments down below your thoughts on any or all of these signings. But that's going to be all for me for today. Hope you're all staying safe and staying healthy. And until next time, bye-bye.